Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're here to dropkick this year out of existence with a final Shooting the Flames.
Thank God. Really. I have never been so excited to see a year leave, like ever.
Right. Even with the election news.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the last Shooting the Flames, we didn't want to jinx anything, and it turns out we didn't. So.
Although we might still be speaking too soon.
I know. Yeah. However, I think it seems fairly likely now that we have rid ourselves of the Orange Menace.
Yes. Lawsuits be a-flying.
Mm-hmm. And thrown out just as quickly. So.
Oh, yes.
It makes me happy every time Joe Biden wins the state for the third time, right? Like today, well, I don't even know what fucking county it was in Wisconsin. They're like, they did a recount and now Joe Biden has 6 million more votes or something like that.
Yeah, he keeps getting more votes from all these recounts. It's hilarious.
Oh, it just makes me happy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Trump. Lawyers don't decide the election. The people do.
Certainly not Rudy Giuliani. I mean... My God. Did you see that fucking press conference where his hair dye was like running down his face?
Poor guy. God.
And he was quoting My Cousin Vinny. I was like, don't quote one of my favorite movies. Blasphemous.
That is not as the monolith commands it.
Oh, yeah, something else too. I don't really understand what was going on, but in 2020, when there's a news headline that says some metal monolith that's been discovered in the Utah desert, I'm like, that's bad. Like,
for real, and no one knew where it came from. And then, you know, it was so hilarious because it looks like something out of like 2001: A Space Odyssey. They called it the monolith in the media,
yeah,
and no one knows what it is, how it got there, or when. And then all of a sudden I got this news article today that said it was missing.
It's gone.
And that all that's there in its place is a message written in the dirt that says "Bye, bitch," with a fresh puddle of urine next to it.
I don't know.
It's like, that's our middle finger to the aliens, I guess. I think it's gonna end up in some like black market bidding war or something.
I read somewhere that it's like some sort of art installation, like some artist is dead and his son wanted to do something in his memory,
immortalize him.
Yeah, thank you. And so because he liked to create weird pieces of art and stick them out in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a very successful artist to me.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Either way, I brushed that article off at first. It's just like, oh well.
Maybe change your venue.
Yeah, right. Anybody in Utah?
Now it's a puddle of piss.
However, I'm not surprised. I mean, 2020 has given us everything. I'm like, metal monolith, it's alright. It's just another fucking day.
Speaking of getting tired of things, I got tired of being Salem adjacent, so now I'm back with you in Texas.
Thank God about that, too. No more Trump, and you're back in Texas where you belong.
Although we are still socially distanced, recording from afar.
That's right. We're like 20 miles apart, and we're
yeah,
in our separate rooms.
Yes.
Well, welcome back to Texas. I hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
Ew, COVID.
Yep, you're back where with the second worst state in the country with COVID. Right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've quarantined. I was a model citizen. I've gotten tested. I quarantined for 2 weeks because I touched all the things on the way. Every gas pump is fraught with possibility. So
that's right.
Just being a good citizen. Had a very, very tiny Thanksgiving, which was wonderful.
Yeah, ours was tiny too, but we all work in a hospital, so we're tested every day, but we're screened every day. We have to monitor our shit, right? And so we felt it was safe, at least just like my mother and my sister. So and that was
we were having that discussion at Thanksgiving, and my husband is someone that works in a children's hospital. And we're all talking about how many times we've been tested and everything else. And then he's like, I'm screened all the time. We're like, yeah, but how many times have you been tested? Not once. 0 times. They don't test them. They just screen them. It's like, okay, that makes complete sense.
But I have to answer that questionnaire every day before I go in. So, I mean, come on. I'm sure no one ever lies.
By the time you have a fever, you've been spreading it around for 5 days. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather get tested once a week than screened, every day.
How was that testing process? I haven't been tested either.
I looked up on my county website all the free testing locations, and this is Texas, so every other state's got to have something. And went to the Walgreens and just went through the drive-thru on my date and time, and got the results like 2 hours later. Some people get them same day. I mean, like I got them same day, but some people get them like at the drive-thru still.
Wow,
because it's rapid. Yeah. So I was obviously negative, and but yeah, they just handed me the thing. Most people, I think, do it for you, but in this drive-thru, you just do it yourself and just swirl the thing around in your nose, and you're good.
You didn't have to like ram it up to your brain.
No, just about an inch and a half. No, maybe just an inch. I don't know. But of course, you're like me, and you have horrible sneeze reflex, and so I just started sneezing uncontrollably.
Oh yeah,
snot everywhere. It was cartoonish. It was disgusting. So I drove away in shame before they gave me my results. But yeah.
Trust me, they've seen it all at the Walgreens or where the hell you're at. Yeah, I mean,
as long as you're okay with being covered in your own mucus.
Yes, I've been there and done that. So, first couple days back to Texas, you shove something up your nose, sneeze uncontrollably in public, and here we are. Yes. Welcome home. Sorry, I couldn't throw you a party. That'll have to do.
And it was a party. It's not confetti. All right.
All right, so let's get started. Let's shoot the last flames of 2020.
Let's start with reviews, which, in 2020 fashion, we have none.
Yeah. No new reviews. So we haven't gotten a review since September of 2020. A couple months now.
Anyone who's listening who likes us or, cares about us at all, please go to iTunes or Apple Podcast if you have such a thing, and leave us a 5-star review.
That's right. We would love to read it on our first Shooting the Flames of 2021. That would be the best way to start that new year.
Yeah. Besides becoming a patron, the second best way that you can help us out is by leaving that review.
That's right. End our dry spell, please. We didn't get any reviews, but we have a lot of comments to go through from our episodes. And let's start with our episode on The Haunting of Bly Manor. So Nikki over on Patreon said, great episode. Bly had potential and I enjoyed it overall. Missing face parts has creeped me out since Twilight Zone the movie from the 80s. The last episode felt so long that it left me feeling annoyed. Still glad we watched it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned the same thing. The end was just like, okay, please stop. Like, wrap it up.
And I loved the ending. I thought the ending was great. But I can see that it was a long episode that seemed to span forever after the original story had ended. So I get it.
Penelope from Patreon said, I think I was disappointed by Bly Manor because I loved Hill House so much. It wasn't terrible. I liked it. I just think I would have liked it more if I hadn't seen Hill House first. Also, I have never liked portrayals of James, turn of the screw, so I approached this warily to begin with. That being said, there were some things they did really well. I agree with Chris that the dollhouse element was super creepy. However, I do sort of feel like they took some of the mystery out of it when they showed the faceless boy placing the dolls. I think they captured some of the horror that is present in our daily lives through abusive, controlling, manipulative relationships and tragedy. Agreed.
Here. I did not see that faceless boy moving those dolls around.
Yeah, I didn't recall that either, but I think I saw him messing with it, but I didn't realize that's what he was doing, and then it kind of clicked. That's why he was under the bed. That's why the boy had to stay under the bed in the dollhouse and everything so that he could help.
At Itamario on Twitter said, I thought there were plenty of weight given to the Mrs. G and Owen story and so happy with how it was handled. I felt the critique about having different directors for Bly was a tad heavy-handed. I thought showrunner and directors alike did a good job of creating a cohesive whole. I loved the tucked aways throughout the episode, though I think they came across more Scottish than British, lol. Pretty sure Oliver Jackson Cohen is not Australian, and he's not. I'm sorry, I should probably Google these things before I just let them fly right out of my mouth. He's British, not Australian, but yeah, I guess sometimes I just make shit up. But I think in the long run, us talking about them having multiple directors on the show is not necessarily a bad thing. We were just expecting it to be completely directed by Flanagan, which the season of Hill House was.
Yes, and I would also say that we were talking, in hindsight, I would say at least, that we were speaking about it relative to Hill House, which Flanagan directed every single episode of.
Right.
Whereas in this one, he only directed the pilot. So,
and we were trying to find a reason why, we just didn't like it as much as Hill House, I think. And that was one of the reasons that we sort of came up with, right? I mean, no diss to any of those directors. Like, they did a good job. That black and white episode, to me, is like one of the best of the entire series. So, like, I'm okay with that. But I think that's where we're coming from.
And despite all of the smooching that we've done to Flanagan over the years, he picked up on one of our threads about being critical of this particular creation of his. And we had a little conversation with, I think, another, commenter on our podcast. And they said, and then Flanagan actually responded with, today on a special episode of You Might Want to Watch Your Tags.
Yeah, just once I want to have a director come in and say, like, good job on that episode, or talking about my work or whatnot. So, Mike Flanagan, if you're listening, we liked Bly Manor. Hopefully you made it to the end of the episode where we gave it a good rating. And, and
we're always talking about how much we love everything that he does. So.
That's right. I mean, we pretty much have, like, sublet a section of your asshole that we live in now. So, I mean, come on. Hi. We also got a voicemail about our episode on Bly Manor, so let's give that a listen.
Hey, it's Matt, long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm just calling in regards to your recent coverage of Haunting of Bly Manor. I know you guys didn't like quite as much as Hill House. I did, I think, because it was just more emotional. But the main reason I wanted to call in was episode 5. I thought that the episode was going in a very Slaughterhouse 5 direction, and I was super excited about that. And I furiously texted Chris about, like, the direction I was hoping it was going in. And the rest of it ended up being kind of a disappointment to me. But I still loved that element of it, even if it didn't be quite the same thing that I was looking for. So, I, hope Mike Flanagan realizes you guys are fans and not just criticizing his work after that Twitter thing. But, still, yeah. Anyway, love you. Bye.
Aw, love you. Bye.
So yeah, that was my husband. But yeah, he watched it from afar when I was watching it, and you were watching it, and my sister was watching it, and hopefully all of our listeners were watching it. But what he means by Slaughterhouse 5, if none of you have read Vonnegut, is that there were these creatures that could essentially see time in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. They could see everything that happened over a span of time all at once. And so he was thinking that was going in that direction where it would be really, really super cool, where people could like pick and choose throughout time, where they would like come into being as a ghost. But that's not what they did. And it was random and it was uncontrolled, and it ended up being kind of a trick.
Yeah. I do love Slaughterhouse 5 though. I think it's a fantastic novel.
Me too.
Yeah. So we got some comments on our last Shooting the Flames from November, obviously. And the first one is from Kimberly over on Patreon. And it is in regards to our news topic about science discovering the scariest movie of all time. And she says, Sinister? Really? I thought it was a snore fest. Just my humble opinion. Maybe I need to watch it again. I think The Exorcist is the scariest movie ever made.
Interesting. So, yeah, I watched Sinister, and to me, it's like the first half was really, really, really scary. Mm-hmm. But then it just kind of fell apart. And so I've always like looked back at it kind of a snooze fest. But maybe I need to watch it again with those expectations, because I've only seen it the once.
Well, and I just rewatched it back in October because I wanted to watch something I knew would scare me, and it did. It scared the shit out of me. And so I stand by that. The Exorcist, yes, is a very scary movie. I think that that whole article or that whole experiment was solely based on like jump scares, and The Exorcist was part of the list. So I mean, like, people did, vote it up to be scary.
Yeah, definitely. And they voted with their heart rates, right? It wasn't their opinions. It was all quote unquote science.
Right.
Nikki from Patreon said, I need to review this list. Thanks for the links. I love science and horror, so, and thanks to Chris for the ROUS reference. Sinister got us, but the end. Yeah. I enjoyed the sequel too, but we watched the second one first. Don't ask how.
I haven't seen the sequel. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So,
And of course, you can always rely on me for Princess Bride references.
Amen. Penelope over on Patreon left us a very long comment, and it's numbered, so here we go. Number 1, don't jinx it. Turns out we didn't. 2, Rob is awesome. I assume she's talking about my husband?
I forgot what what we were all talking about.
I probably did talk about Rob for a minute, so 3, debates are nightmare fuel. Amen. 4, LMAO, there was a time when I couldn't name a movie that I hadn't cried in. I'm with Robert. 5, poor Callie. She just wanted to be heard.
Yes.
6, I wish I was a fraction as eloquent in voicing my opinions as Nikki is. So say we all. 7, still waiting on Chris to do Season of Passage. I don't know what that means, because haven't you done it?
I think she wants me to either deep dive it or actually freaking direct the movie. I don't know.
Oh, okay. 8, I'll be waiting on Robert's comments on my reading recommendations. Still on that. 9, I was totally out in my yard late during the blue moon on Halloween and thinking of Trick or Treat and was mildly concerned about the distinct lack of pumpkins on my front porch. Not going to lie.
Yeah, so we all.
I didn't have any either. I know. 10, I don't think there's such a thing as a no-go horror, although I'm with Chris on The Strangers, but I've definitely seen it multiple times. After writing that, I recall one disturbing film that I would never watch again, previously discussed on voicemail, and after I wrote this, Robert brought it up. Ditto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Serbian film? Yeah.
Yeah, Serbian film, and she left that voicemail like over a year ago, probably like
a
year and a half ago when we talked about that.
We probably spent way too much time talking about that movie already. 11, where have I been? Under a rock? Any ideas on what this
No.
12, prequel, Annabelle. Oh my God, who are y'all? I guess we forgot about that. 13, science should shut up, but data is fun. Hey, Film Flamers, hire me to be your data scientist and I'll create data for you blending Rotten Tomatoes and Science of Scare, or we could collect data from your listeners.
Oh. Okay. Well, she has both data sets, so please report back with your findings from the science heart rates with the actual Rotten Tomato scores and tell us what actually is the best or most scary horror movies.
Travel the country and do all this. I kind of feel like I have to go back and listen to the last one, Shooting the Flames, now to figure out what some of these mean. So sorry we can't fully talk about your comment. We really appreciate the long comment. I mean, because obviously you listened to the episode and we're sort of like writing this comment as you were listening to it to not forget anything. And that is true dedication. So we really appreciate that.
We also got a comment from our episode on The Howling. And this one comes from the Customer Also Watched podcast. And they said, I'm also not a huge fan of werewolf movies. American Werewolf in London being my one exception. But I do think there is a serious lack of good movies in this subgenre. So that could have something to do with my opinion.
I mean, I would throw The Howling in there too, along with American Werewolf in London as like a good werewolf movie. But really, there's only a handful. So she's right. So, from our episode on Thanksgiving, we got a whole series of comments. The first one comes from Brandon over on Patreon. He says, bravo on maintaining composure during this episode. I don't know how you lasted so long. My husband and I will definitely check this out during our Thanksgiving holiday. So we hope you liked it.
Yeah. And Kimberly from Patreon said, listening right now. You two are killing me. How many outtakes did you do? That remains to be seen. So I guess you'll have to tune in because we might be dropping something special later on this month.
That's right. Needless to say, you'll probably laugh just as much in the outtakes as you did during the Thanksgiving episode. Matt from Facebook said, I would call this a modern masterpiece, but its importance, I think, resonates farther through time than I think is possible to understand.
And that's what we said during the episode. So I'm glad someone was listening closely.
This is the epitome of timelessness, right? Mm-hmm.
At RL Terry 1 said, love the review. You had me convinced that it deserved an Oscar nomination or win. And that's what we strove to do.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Yeah. Several Oscars, in fact, I feel.
Any movie that has an extra small gravy-flavored condom deserves to win an Oscar.
Amen. I mean, come on, Academy. At Gummy Fredo said, haha, listen, I have never wanted to fight you two as much as I did listening to this. Haha. I couldn't believe you kept it up for so long. No lie, for the first 5 minutes, I was like, did they watch something I didn't?
I was worried about that. I was hoping people would get it, It's people are really going to not understand, especially if they hadn't seen the movie. So. Yeah,
well, I mean, obviously, it was mostly sarcasm. We did like the movie, though. So for not the reasons that we talked about in the episode. So I'm glad that you no longer want to fight us. But if it came down to that, Gummy Fredo, I'll fight you about Thanksgiving. It's okay.
At Matthew McHenry said, after hearing the thoughtful discourse on the film Flamers, I watched Thanksgiving and chef's kiss.
Oh, I'm so glad you loved it. And at Homerig Sean said, he quoted us and said, I often think of turkey while I'm having sex. He said, people at work think there's something wrong with me because I can't stop laughing. So glad we can brighten up your workday and make you look like a fool.
Yeah. And from our Hot Takes episode for November, Nikki from Patreon said, giving comments in real time because I will forget if I don't. I loved Sean Connery in The Rock. Yay to the boys watch. We finally watched AHS 1984. Glad we finished it, but the final 4 episodes felt too long. His House was so good on so many levels. Glad you both felt the same. Oh, and we watched Marianne on Netflix and really enjoyed it. Interested to hear your take on it. We watched Ouija Origin of Evil at your suggestion, and it was a great scare. First of all, I'm really, really super glad that you enjoyed Ouija. I'm really super glad that you enjoyed His House, obviously, and The Boys. Robert's yet to start the second season of that, but they're excited to. AHS 1984, I kind of agree with that. And Marianne, that is also something that we were told to watch from my sister, and I believe Robert's already seen it.
Yeah, I watched it when it was released on Netflix because it's French and it's creepy, and I love that sort of thing. And I commented over on Patreon, and I owe Nikki a list of good French horror movies to watch, so that is coming. I'm just trying to make sure I give you the best ones to watch, so stay tuned. At NicoleAnn75 said, His House was so damn good. I probably wouldn't have seen it without listening, so thank you so much for the recommendation. You are welcome. And I think this is sort of required viewing for horror fans at this point. I think people need to watch it.
For real. So, I just showed Matt, again, the husband, and he absolutely loved it. So, yeah.
Fantastic movie.
We were thinking about it. I liked it just as much or more the second time.
Oh, good.
And he was thinking about it for a long time afterwards. And of course, the next night we watched Jojo Rabbit, and he loved that too. So,
oh yay! I love Jojo Rabbit.
Catching up on all the things I watched in Boston that we didn't watch together.
So all the really sad movies. I mean, my God.
Yeah, and next up, Deep Into the Ocean. No.
Do not subject him to that.
At Gummy Fredo said, Film Flamers, speaking of full frontal male nudity, have you seen Under the Skin? That one has some lengthy penis shots. No pun intended. Yes, and I am actually a fan of Under the Skin, and probably not for that reason. But yes, there is some lengthy, no pun intended, shots of some dick there. But Under the Skin is something that I actually really, really enjoyed, specifically because of the cinematography and the music. And I loved the message of the film. I thought it was really done quite well with visual storytelling. However, Robert still needs to watch this again because I think he was in a bad mood the first time he saw it.
I was so bored watching that movie. I mean, I'm so bored that I forgot about the lengthy dick shots, obviously. Now, here's what's funny about this comment, because he wrote it on Twitter, and I replied back and said, yeah, Chris is a big fan of that movie. And he responded ha ha ha, crying face emoji. And I was just like, should I go and tell him for real cinematic reasons and not because of dick? I was like, is that what he thinks he's a fan of? So, Gummy Fredo.
Yikes.
He likes it because it's a good movie. Yes. Just in case. So we asked for some questions over on all of our social media channels and Patreon, and you guys did not disappoint. So we have quite a few. And the first one comes from Erica from the Customers Also Watch podcast. And she wants to know what our favorite new to me, quote unquote, movies you watched this year are. Things that are not from 2020 or things that you missed along the way that you're finally getting to watch now, I guess.
The thing that instantly came to mind was Terrified.
Oh yeah, you did watch that for the first time this year, didn't you?
I watched it for the first time this year. It came out a couple of years ago, and I absolutely loved it. So that's my pick, just off the top of my head.
I would probably say, like, We Need to Talk About Kevin was a big surprise for me. I liked it quite a bit when I watched it, and I hadn't seen it before.
Yay.
I was surprised at how much I liked Silent Hill, actually.
Another recommendation from me. 2 for 2.
That's right. I put that one off for a long time. And another recommendation from Chris that we watched for our Patreon episode that I just loved so fucking much was Dread.
Yes.
So,
yay. And you watched Interstellar too at my recommendation and liked it a lot.
oh my God, I forgot about Interstellar. I loved that one too. So yeah, those are like the big ones for me this year. Like I really love the shit out of Dread so much. Like I know it's something that I'm going to watch a lot. And it was one of those movies that I was just like, oh, a remake of that terrible, terrible movie or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, turns out it's pretty fucking good. And Interstellar is pretty fucking stellar.
Killing it with my recommendations for you this year.
Calm down.
I'm so proud of myself.
Don't think that I'm just going to start watching all your recommendations now just because you had like 5 or 6 good ones this year.
No, I just need to add them because it takes us like a 2-year window when you actually watch them. So
yeah, I don't know. I if we didn't have a podcast where I had to commit to certain movies to watch, like there would be no such thing as a watch list for me because it's whatever I decide to put on when I sit my fat ass on the couch. I'm like, oh, I'll watch this tonight. Who knows? But
yeah.
And I probably, if we had not watched Interstellar together, I probably still hadn't have seen it. So thank you for that at least, because that movie is so fucking good.
At Eddie Edwards 1 said, would you guys ever do an episode on the original Cat People from 1942? Val Lewton was a genius, and this is a great film. Never mind the remake. So that sounds like something that we might do for a Flamers flashback, though.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a first time watch for us, because I don't think we ever do deep dives of things we haven't already seen.
Very rarely. I've seen the original Cat People and I like it. And I just saw the remake this year because I watched that 80s horror documentary and it was trash. So, yeah, I mean, never say never. It's possible. So, we'll keep that in mind though. We got a voicemail from Michael Allred and let's give that a listen.
Hey guys, this is Michael Allred. You guys already know I love your show, but you were asking for questions, so I have one for you. Recently, Bruce Campbell said he would like an Expendables type film for his next horror film. So I was curious if it were up to you, other than Bruce Campbell, what other famous or perhaps infamous horror characters, maybe not so much the horror characters, but the actors playing them, you get what I mean. Who'd you pick to join? Say maybe you have 5, 6 choices. I've got my choices, but I want to hear yours first. Anyway, thanks for the great show. Always look forward to new ones. Stay safe, stay happy. And I'll listen to you guys soon. Thanks.
So yes, and that Expendables of horror movie is Bruce versus Frankenstein. So I don't know if you can get some big names there. If it's anything like I Am Bruce or Bubba Hotep or something like that, it's fairly low budget, right? So those movies are really made for this insular group of horror fans, right? And I don't know that he could get those, but if we had an Expendables of horror, I'd have to have Sigourney Weaver and Linda Hamilton and Jamie Lee Curtis, and Arnold Schwarzenegger again, and the guy that played Bishop, who I got at this
Lance Henriksen.
He's also in Pumpkinhead, and
yeah,
God, so many. Obviously, the guy that plays Michael Myers. So many times, and
Nick Castle.
Yeah. So many. Nev Campbell, and we could go on and on. Heather Langenkamp.
Oh yeah, I would love to see Heather Langenkamp in it. I mean, it's funny that, like the first things that you say are like female people. And for me too, I would like to see like Barbara Crampton in it or like Dee Wallace, right? Some of these people, like these actresses who are a lot of 80s horror. Because I think that when people think about horror actors, especially when you think about something like the Expendables of horror, right? You're going to go straight to the 80s where these people ran a whole series of movies, right?
Yeah. Be like the Final Girls Attack of the Studious Brunettes or something.
He did say that he really wants Robert Englund and Kane Hodder for sure, right? And like they're probably the two big like actors.
Oh yeah, obviously Robert Englund, yeah. We also got another voicemail, this time from Brandon Anderson. And let's give that a listen real quick.
Hi, Chris and Robert. This is Patreon subscriber Brandon. Just calling to say if there was an acting award for a podcast, you two would definitely be in the running. How you were able to get through your Thanksgiving episode without cracking up is beyond me, so bravo. I also wanted to thank you for giving a shout out to his house. I watched that over the Thanksgiving holiday, and it was just a superb horror movie. Really something for all horror movie buffs. There was psychological slow burn moments, creature feature moments when the demon was finally shown, some body horror elements when the demon was trying to take over the main character. So overall, a wonderful movie. Thank you so much for shedding some light on it. And then I also wanted to propose a question to you both. I'm not sure how much horror TV you watch, but my husband and I are big horror TV fans, and I was wondering what your favorite horror TV show twist was. My personal one is the reveal, spoiler alert, for the Exorcist TV show, that the first season, the mother of the possessed daughter is actually Regan, making the first season of the Exorcist TV show a continuation of the Exorcist movie. That is kind of drawn out and shown about halfway through the season. So it was a big surprise. So just wondering what your all-time favorite twists are. Again, keep up the great work, and happy holidays to you both.
Happy holidays to you as well, Brandon, and we're glad that you liked our comments on his house.
Oh yeah,
really can't say enough good things about that movie, and I'm glad that other people are enjoying it too. We do watch a lot of horror TV, though. Chris, do you have a favorite twist?
The first thing that came to my mind as soon as I heard this voicemail was in The Haunting of Hill House, where it was the reveal of the breakneck lady. Because it was as horrific as it was hard-hitting emotionally, right? And it's such a great twist and reveal that this is the only thing that's like consuming my mind when I think about that question.
I'm not sure that I have a favorite twist. I haven't, for the longest time, I had the Exorcist TV show on my DVR, right? The entire first season, and I still haven't watched it, so I don't know. I really like the twist in the first season of American Horror Story when you start to learn that some of these characters are actually dead the whole time, because I really didn't see that coming at all. Especially the Harmon's daughter, right? Tasha Farmiga. I was just like, what? You know? I mean, so yeah, it just, that blew my mind. And that rarely ever happens when I'm watching at least a TV show. They normally, throughout the episodes, will, have a twist come and you see it coming from a little bit. But that really shook me. I'm sure there were some moments in Buffy that surprised me as well.
Like just the reveal of Dawn, that she was all of a sudden there with no explanation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was like... a twist that pissed me off for a long
Reverse
time.
reveal.
Yeah. But that's a good question. Thank you, Brendan. And thank you for everyone who left us voicemails on this episode. We haven't got a lot of reviews, but you guys have really come through with the voicemails over the last couple Shooting the Flames episode, and we really like that.
Yeah, honestly, 2 years ago, if we had imagined that we would have gotten so many comments, so many questions, so many voicemails to talk about, and a dedicated episode for you guys every single month, I think we would just gotten our minds blown. So thank you so much for continuing to do that.
That's right. That's our favorite twist.
We also got some new patrons. Speaking of those patrons,
Yay!
3. We got 3 new patrons the last time, and that's Brandon Anderson, Dan Alvarez, and Michael Allred. So thank you so much for joining us and joining our family over there on Patreon, where the conversation continues off mic.
That's right. We hope that you guys are enjoying all the bonus episodes and the community over there so far, but there are 3 patrons that we need to shout out on this episode because they are at the Film Flamer or higher level, and that's Ben Gonzalez, Amber Couch, and Penelope Nelson. So thank you guys for your continued support.
Yes, thank you guys so much for joining us at that level and supporting us to that degree. It's really, really appreciated.
Horror News.
Kicking off our news is that the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures just installed the only surviving shark model from Jaws.
Hey, Bruce. Yeah, so they've been building this museum for what seems like forever. And if, for those of you who listen to our show who don't know, I'm a huge fucking Oscar nut. Like, I love the Academy Awards so much. And I have been wanting to make a pilgrimage to this museum as soon as it opens. And now I have even more of a reason to go.
Where is it?
So it's in Los Angeles.
Okay, I was going to say, like, if they should have a Jaws museum in Cape Cod somewhere.
I mean, they really should. But so they apparently they had, like, this is the last known model from the cast that they made to make this shark with. And it's gigantic. They have it hung in such a way in the museum that you can see it while you're driving down the street. You can see it from multiple levels of the museum. Think like that big whale in the Natural History Museum in Manhattan, right? So it's like something
cool.
like that. A centerpiece, right?
Yeah.
So I really want to go. The museum is supposed to be opening up this spring. Obviously, we probably won't be able to travel yet. But I'm thinking the best time to go visit the Academy Award Museum is probably in October. I'm sure they'll have some sort of exhibits about horror movies. So I'll just postpone my pilgrimage for a little bit.
Okay.
You want to go?
Yeah, I totally want to go. Maybe we should make a pilgrimage together next October, and that can be our little special podcast episode for that month.
Oh my God. And I've never been to Halloween Horror Nights at like Universal. So, I mean, it'd be like the perfect time. What I really want, and they have to have this. If they don't, I'll be hideously disappointed. I want to hold an Oscar as like on my bucket list. And so they need to have some sort of interactive exhibit where I can pick up an Oscar and have someone take my picture with it. So make that happen, y'all. Scott Cawthorne updates on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and says that filming is starting in the spring. This is something that I've been watching for a long time because that game scares the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see this movie. And they've been talking about it for just as long as they've been building the fucking Academy Award Museum.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure it'll be really good.
Especially if they show what's inside of those little animatronics. There's going to be a lot of potential body horror there.
He apparently did a Reddit AMA or something, and they asked about it, and he said he's gone through like so many different scripts until they found the right one. He wanted it to have enough video game lore and actual horror in it, so filming is going to start. Hopefully they're going to stay safe while they're doing it, and we'll get that movie soon.
Robert Englund joins Stranger Things Season 4 as a disturbed man imprisoned for a gruesome murder.
Hasn't he played that role before?
Maybe. Is there fire involved? This is pre-fire, I guess.
Yeah, obviously I'm a couple seasons behind on Stranger Things. So, but it seems to me that Robert Englund on that show, which is so very 80s, is probably the best thing to do, right?
Yeah, and you've got to catch up, so at least you get to see Season 3, because Season 3 was just gold. But yeah, I can only imagine he gets possessed by the underneath stuff, whatever it's fucking called. The other side, the flip side.
Isn't it called the underneath? I don't
know.
The upside down.
The upside down, yes. And it becomes some sort of shadowy Freddy Krueger thing, which would be amazing. I mean,
it was only a matter of time before Robert Englund got on that show. I mean, come on, let's be honest. There's some sad news that we have to talk about, though. And Suspiria co-writer and Deep Red, Inferno, and Tenebrae actress Daria Nicolodi has passed away. Yeah, so this is the mother of Asia Argento, right? So Dario Argento's daughter. A huge person in horror films, not just in gialli. So she'll be really sadly missed.
Our last item on the news is that Constantine 2 is reportedly in the works. And that news comes from Peter Stormare, who actually played Lucifer in the first Constantine movie. And it's my favorite devil in cinema, even including Tim Curry. He was just so good. He only has 5 minutes in that movie, and he just like eats all the scenery, chews it all up.
I have not seen Constantine in so long.
Yeah, and Tilda Swinton's in it as Gabriel. So,
what?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I don't remember this.
Yes. She's amazing in it. I feel like that movie was shit on unfairly, and I often return to it every few years because I think it could have been better, but whatever. At least you get to see Bush frontman killed.
Bush frontman. Was that his stage name?
Well, none of us, back when it came out, none of us wanted Bush frontman to get killed. But now we all do. So you get to watch that happen in Constantine.
I need to revisit
Gavin Rossdale.
Gavin Rossdale, yeah.
Some Bush frontman.
Mouth. Is Keanu going to be in Constantine too?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And the director who went on to do the Hunger Games movies, he and Keanu Reeves are like, we'd make it tomorrow if we could, because they just enjoyed making the first one so much.
Wow. Okay. So I know that you've led me down the right path like 6 or 7 times this year with your recommendations. I will rewatch Constantine.
Yeah.
Especially since now I love Tilda Swinton. Also thanks to you. What are you doing to me? And I'll report back.
I'm broadening your horizons just as you have done for me.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll broaden each other.
Well, let's rephrase that.
Oh, God, that was funny.
You're not going to broaden me much with that extra small gravy flavored condom.
Fuck you. No, because I probably stuck all the gravy flavor out of it before I could use it.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving broadened us enough for the year. We just got stuffed.
My God, I've only had like 3 discussion beers. Much like our reviews, there's been a dearth of good horror movie trailers, and we really only have one to talk about. And that's the official teaser trailer for next year's Halloween Kills.
Yeah, and this was released right as we were recording our November's Shooting the Flames
right, yeah.
at the end of October, so that's why it's only on here now. But if you haven't already seen the official teaser trailer for Halloween Kills, the link to the YouTube trailer will be in the show notes as always, along with all of our news links.
So what'd you think about the teaser trailer? Like, they released the first, like, opening seconds of the movie before that, right? And I think this movie has so much buzz, and it was supposed to come out this year, right? Mm-hmm. And 2020 ruined that for us. Just ruined it. Ruined. I like this teaser. I thought it was good. They have that one really bloody moment that,
yeah, I'm
excited for what it is. Yeah.
I just want them to win, like, for real at some point. At the end of this trilogy, and I'm assuming it's going to be a trilogy, that I just want them to, once and for all, just like see him die, watch him die to nothing, to ash, whatever. Because right now, I mean, they just like trapped him down there and they drove away. And then they saw I don't know if it was in the first teaser or this teaser, but they saw the fire engines going towards it. And she's like, no, right. No, let it burn. So.
Well, this one's called Halloween Kills, and the next one's called Halloween Ends. So hopefully everything you say will come to fruition. Well, I think that just about wraps up our conversation for this last Shooting the Flames of 2020. As always, let us know what you think about the episode and all of our episodes. You can leave those comments on social media at The Film Flamers on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram.
You can email us at tiredqueens@filmflamers.com, or better yet, call our hotline, as so many of our wonderful listeners did this month, at 972-666-7733. Keep them coming.
That's right. Like we said earlier, we need some reviews. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, go over there, give us a 5-star review, a little snippet about why you like us. We'll read that on Shooting the Flames. And if you need some more Film Flamers, head over to patreon.com/thefilmflamers for all of our bonus content and join our ever-growing family over there.
Yeah, you get early episodes and you get to participate in polls for what we cover over there. So hurry on over and get early episodes and all of that for as little as $2.
This is going to be a shorter month for us here at the Film Flamers. We have Shooting the Flames, and then we're going to release our holiday episode, which is on Night of the Comet, and then we're going to take a little 2-week break for the holiday, but don't fret, we will have a bonus episode and maybe a surprise for you toward the end of the month.
That's right.
And come back in January, where we're talking everything Danny Torrance. That's right, The Shining and Dr. Sleep, which I know we are chomping at the bits to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's medicine, listeners.
Come take your medicine.
Come take your medicine.
Little pup. Until next time,
Sweet dreams.